What was the creepiest thing someone said on the first date?
I love Asian girls, they remind me of children.
Mid-date he placed his hand on my stomach and said, "My son will grow here."
Called their mom in front of me to say they met a real winner and how they were done with their ex. Not sure if this counts, but it was really uncomfortable.
Friend told me the guy not only asked for a selfie but posted on Facebook with the caption, "My queen." First time meeting.
I told this guy I played the piano, and like half an hour later he said, "If I wanted you to always remember me, I'd break your ring fingers. You know, 'cause they don't heal well, and then you'd always think of me when playing." Suffice to say, I left the restaurant fairly quickly.
He wanted to go for a walk at the park with me at 4 a.m., so when I said no he said, "Don't worry, I won't rape you," and gave me a twisted smile.
I invited my ex to join us for lunch.
I want you to carve your initials on my thigh with a knife. She was very serious.
He was in the military, Canadian. I asked him if he ever did any volunteer work overseas with the military and he said no. I joined the military to kill people, not to help people. Chugged my beer and got out of there as fast as I could.
She was driving us back home from the restaurant and started saying things like, "Yeah, no, you're in my car now, I technically can take you wherever I want, you're like my prisoner." I laughed the first time she mentioned it because I'm into dark humor, but when she kept going on with it, little did she know once I got out of the car that would be the last time she'd ever see me. Edit. Wow, wasn't expecting all of these upvotes. First time over 1,000 for me, and it happens to be the post in which I either almost died or could have had a lit dominatrix session. Thanks guys, gals.
He told me he could rape me if he wanted. He wasn't joking.
Showed me a long list on her phone of, if I can guess without exaggeration, at least 60 to 70 baby names for when she has a kid, and joked about having baby fever. They were all really country bumpkin names like Brecken and Gatlin too, which somehow made it more unpalatable for me. Edit. She's only 21.
This is a nice place. I've seen you eating here before.
Went out with a girl one night, and after dinner she drove me up into the mountains. I was new to the area, and after a while, when there were no more lights, she started talking about serial killers. I still remember her saying, "I used to think about getting away with stuff like that sometimes."
Look, this has to go well. Both of my brother's wives are pregnant with their second children. Do not let me down. Said to me within 3 minutes of sitting down.
Can I cut you and drink it? She was serious.
It wasn't something that someone said, but he stole my credit card out of my purse when I wasn't looking. Luckily on the way home I stopped for coffee and noticed it was missing. Froze the account that second. Edit. Okay, let me edit this because I didn't give enough context. It was a horrible date. Please don't confuse this with a sweet guy and a fun date. This guy was incredibly misogynistic, talking bad about his ex-wife, saying most women are whores and bad mothers. He was saying why he doesn't date within his old school Romanian gypsy community is because the women lay there like dead fish during sex, and how he thinks American women are more fun. I know, I clearly didn't vet him enough before hanging out. Of course he went on about politics and how he wants a wall as well to keep out the Mexicans and the Arabs because they are dirty people and Jew you down on everything. His words, not mine. He said he knows this because he's an immigrant and worked along immigrants for years until he built up his own business, but the lazy Mexicans never rise up to own their own business. Needless to say, I gave him the benefit of the doubt and just froze my account while I searched everywhere for 3 days. I did have the card an hour before the date, and I feel like prefacing this with the fact that I have never ever in my entire life misplaced my card. However, for me, you just know. You know when you've been played. You get that gut feeling.
Not what he said, but what he did. He stole my keys while I was out of the room and took off into the night. We had an hours-long standoff where he wouldn't answer my calls or texts begging him to return them. I stood by his truck that was parked a few blocks away, making sure that he didn't leave with them. Eventually he dropped them off in my car and I got a ride home from the cops. Honestly, one of the scariest episodes of my life.
Described in detail how his female commanding officer liked sex with him so much she raped him repeatedly while he was in the army. He said it with so much pride that it seemed as though it was meant to impress me. Edit. It is possible this was a coping mechanism, or him trying to convince himself. It simply came with an "I'm this good at sex" vibe, and I had known this man for less than 2 hours. To me it was the most uncomfortable first date I've had.
My son is gonna love having you around, lady. We talked twice on Tinder and I've only known you for 5 minutes. Ease up on the stepdaddy talk. Full disclosure, not long after I met a nice woman with 3 children, I adopted all 3 not long after we married. I met her on Tinder.
This guy wasn't talking at all and I only brought a few talking points cause normally they talk the whole time. I didn't have anything else to say and asked him to start talking and he said, what I want to talk about can't be said in public. When I ended the date he thought we were going to go to my place to talk and I said no. I got in my car, noted what car he got into, and took a few breaths to calm down. I looked around and his car was still there. I waited 30 minutes before he left the parking lot and stayed another 15 before I left.
I just really like mustard as she continues suck mustard packets. Worst part, we were at a somewhat nice restaurant. She brought mustard to eat.
When we get married I can wear this dress. First date went back to her place and while giving me the tour she pulled a beautiful wedding dress out of a closet and said this to me while holding it up to her body.
A one-night stand once told me I smelt like his mom.
This is not my story, but my mother's. My mom was a pioneer in online dating. She was really interested in finding someone special. She agreed to meet a guy for dinner first mistake, and went in to be seated prior to him arriving. He came in, the waitress brought menus and he set down his menu and the first words he spoke were asking my mom if she has ever known anyone who had a penis enlargement. He then went on to explain that he had flown cross-county for this operation and it had gone wrong. He went into great specifics about just how wrong. My mother excused herself to the ladies' room and left out the back door. We still laugh out loud when she reminds us of her search for Mr. Right.
We would have cute babies, or my personal favorite, for Halloween we could go as a slave and master, haha, get it? Because you're black, haha.
I was Joan of Arc in my former life. I want to tear you apart. And your friend too. Kind of a toss-up, him-ho.
After getting us lost on the way back to my friend's house, late at night, in a state I was only visiting, what, do you think I'm going to take you out into the woods and rape you, lol? He had a loaded gun rack in his truck, and a knife on his belt. I was 15. It was not funny.
You look just like my sister, and later in the date he admitted that's something he liked about me. Needless to say, no second date with Jamie Lannister.
Went on a Tinder date to the movies when I was 18. He picked me up in his truck and played terrible loud depressing music. In the theater, he was on his phone swiping on Tinder the whole time, then leaned over and told me that I was lucky to be out with him because all these other girls wanted to be with him. Yikes. My roommate picked me up when I excused myself to the bathroom.
Better lock it down now, huh? While you're ripe for the taking. Referring to my low self-esteem that he picked up on.
Within knowing each other about an hour he told me he had never wanted kids before, but the moment we met he felt it biologically. Then he told me he wanted to be my son's stepfather as well.
So this dude and I kept randomly being on the same bus. We would never talk, but make eyes. A few months into this, we get off at the main bus hub and he approaches me and invites me to dinner. There was a teriyaki place right across the street. So we went and had good conversation. I had a good time. When it came to separating ways, it wasn't what he said per se, but the fact that he brought up his hand and cupped my cheek. He just sorta left it there in silence, and then slowly grazed his fingers down along my face as he pulled away.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more quality content every day.